episode 37 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. My name's Chris, I'm one of your co-hosts, joined by my other two friendly co-hosts. To my right, your left, we have Mr. Tom up there in his purple cube, and below him, with all the guitars, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie as well. Give them an audible wave, gentlemen. Say hello.
Audible wave.
Hello there, audible wave indeed. You joined the three of us on the cusp of a new week as we record this episode for you, lovely listeners and viewers out there. We hope you're staying safe, you're keeping well, you're playing plenty of games. We've got a slightly different show for you this week. Just at the top of the show, I wanted to give you an idea of what you've got in store. We've got little bits of news, some articles from the ever news agency BBC. We've got some Cyberpunk information, which may or may not anger you, depending on how you sit with release dates. We've got some new game information, and what we wanted to do this week is also spend a bit of time to just highlight some of the Stadia community members in and around our kind of stratosphere that we work with. We've collaborated with plenty. However, there are a few we've not had a chance to collaborate with. I think the Content Creators Cup we hosted 2 weeks back now highlighted just how much we still haven't had a chance to reach out and get in touch and work with these other people. So we wanted to just bring a bit of a highlighted spotlight on a few of the amazing people out there who make the Stadia world go round, and we really do appreciate it. So before we jump into the news, just want to do a quick bit of housekeeping as per usual. Episode chapter 3 of the Road to Valhalla Let's Play series, featuring myself and a special guest this week. You may recognise him. He's been on a few shows dotted throughout our history. Richie joined me for the Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I think they turn up a lot in the Sounds of Stadia content, don't I?
It's very odd because me and Tom keep talking offline how you keep sneaking in. We really don't understand how it happens.
I have access to the Discord.
That's it. You just can't get rid of you now. Yeah, here we are, 37 episodes in, and yes, we've got Chapter 3 of the Odyssey Let's Play up live now. Richie, you've also had another episode drop this on Saturday.
Yes. Lost Words Beyond the Page playthrough is starting to get towards the end. There's only a couple more episodes after this one. It was episode 7 that dropped this week, so it's really at the emotional turning point of the story. So if you haven't checked that out, you check out the whole thing.
Yeah, check out the whole thing. Yeah, go binge watch it.
Go watch it.
There's nothing good on Netflix at the moment anyway, so what does it matter? And
do
then
that after you finish watching the podcast.
yeah, exactly. And then final bit of housekeeping as well. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Please like the video down below and subscribe. It really does help, and it gives us that positive push to create more content for you in the future, which we do plan on doing. There's a lot more in the pipeline, so stay tuned and keep excited. But more importantly, so you're kept in the loop and you're not missing out on great things like the Assassin's Creed playthrough, our Content Creators Cup, and many collaborations we hope to be doing in the future as well. If you are new and you do want to reach out to other like-minded individuals, we are, of course, partnership with the Google Stadia UK group, the biggest UK group going as well. However, if you're not from the UK, feel free to join in and chat along, as it is a very friendly group of people. They're currently talking about the news this week around Cyberpunk and what people's thoughts and takes are on that, which we will get to. Head over to facebook.com/groups/group. Scratch that. It's just not working for me this weekend.
Round 2.
Round 2, it is. Facebook.com/groups/Google Stadia UK group. I might just copy and paste that reading and just drop it in as like a pre-recorded audio.
It's quite a tongue twister.
I think just because it's groups and Google together, it's just one of those. Yeah.
Just get like Microsoft Sam or something to read it. Just press have a macro.
Yeah.
/groups/
If only that'd work fantastically. So just a little bit of housekeeping for you all there. Stay locked and checked out the channel as well. We also wanted to give a massive shout out to one of our new Patreons this week as well. Remember, if you want to write in and be part of the show, you can do so over at patreon.com/sounds of Stadia. From our tier 1 level, the lowest tier that patreon.com will allow us to do, which is $1 or 78 pence to you Brits on this side of the Atlantic. You can send in with your questions. You can engage with our close-knit Sounds of Stadia community we've got there as well. We've got behind-the-scenes footage going up. I know, Richie, you're potentially working on something for our patrons right now.
I am. It's probably going to be a little while till it's up because, part of it is I'm buying a new PC. It's going to be centered around that. And I'm not going to do the edit on this one because this PC sucks.
this PC.
So I'm going to wait till the new PT is built before I edit it.
Yeah.
So.
But we've got some content still on there as well, which we have rolled out to you as well. If you are one of the free listeners, you're more than welcome to stay as you are. We do appreciate just the like and support and the time that you spend out of your own personal lives to watch along anyway. We will be releasing all the Patreon content gradually as time goes by. But obviously, if you're an exclusive member of the Patreon club, we're going to give it to you first. As our most devoted fans, as we'd say as well. But thank you again for that. So this week we do have one additional new patron has joined the club. Shout out to Barry. Thank you very much again, Barry, for your support. We know I've seen you in the comments many times, and the posts and the threads and such as well. So massive appreciation from myself, and I'm sure Tom and Richie as well. We hope to bring you great content, and we can do so even better thanks to your support. So massive shout out to Barry as well.
Absolutely, Barry. Thank you.
Richie, got a bit of a retcon ritual, have we, this week? Aimed at the lovely Tom?
Yes. He made a mistake last week. So I mean, it would be very nasty to him because we're on the internet. That's how you meant. Isn't that what you meant to do when people make mistakes? Mm-hmm. Destroy them.
Send him threats. Not anymore.
Anyway, Panzer Dragoon was released 25 years ago, not 15. We're just old as fuck.
Oh dear.
Yep. We really are. We really are. When you feel like 25 years ago is actually like 10, I mean, I said 10 to 15 last week, and like I couldn't be further from the truth. We're talking like what? That's like early 2000s. I'm pretty sure the Saturn wasn't around then, was it, gents?
No, I fall foul of always thinking the millennium, the 2000, is still like the cut-off point. So anything that came out recently, I just think the millennium was still not that far ago.
Yeah.
And the reality is now it's genuinely 2 decades ago, and it's scary every time that moment of realization is, oh yeah, shit, yeah, that's definitely true.
We were 10 at the millennium, but there's like the Saturn to Dreamcast era Sega. I couldn't tell you where the Saturn points for them are.
No,
just kind of.
Yeah. No, I couldn't either. What year did Stadia launch, guys?
2019.
Whee!
Or 2020, depending whether you want to say.
We don't talk about 2020 anymore.
No, 2020 is going to be a write-off year. Nothing happened in 2020. Nothing of notable consequence anywhere. Yeah. So that does bring us a wrap on all the housekeeping and retcon rituals as well, which means we are finally able to jump straight into...
Super sexy Stadia special. I'm doing the Stadia today. Right. Round 2, Tom, let's go. The Super Sexy Special Stadia Story segment, a.k.a. The News.
It looks like there's not only me having a rough day today. Oh, not a rough day, actually. I've had quite a good day. In terms of...
10 goals to record the intro.
Yeah, it's just... it may be just because we're recording at a different time, gents. That may be it.
Yeah.
We're recording in an evening. And it's just throwing us off.
We're all a bit hungry, a bit tired, a bit...
I am hungry.
You've had just done the dinner and now you want to have a nap?
I have both a pizza and a lasagna waiting for me after this.
What?
I know it seems like a weird combination.
Well, Italian.
Yeah, no, I had pizza last night, and like classic pizza style, you buy too much or it's too large, so you save some of it for the next day. However, I forgot I had it for dinner today, or lunch, or whatever. So it stayed in the fridge, and then coming around to evening time, planning my dinner or tea for you north of the Midlands. Not you, Tom. It's tea time now. I went to start planning the lasagna for supper time, and I've got 2 meals now. So I've got pizza that needs to be ate, and I also want a lasagna. So guess what? It's Italiano night for me.
Now, I need to know, are you going to dip your pizza into your lasagna?
Yeah, why not? It's all bread, right?
Wow. Okay.
I might use the pizza to mop up like the bits of mincemeat and such.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of bechamel or something.
Yeah, dip it in. Why not? It's all Italian. I'll throw some spaghetti in there while I'm at it, and some meatballs and that kind of thing. Some tomatoes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, why not? Anyway, this is not the food channel you subscribe to. Man vs. Food may be one of our Patreon tiers one time. I'd love to do some of that. Tom, you were thinking about doing cooking stuff, right?
Oh yeah, it's still in the works. But obviously, as you can see, I'm still in the process of moving. Everything's boxed up now. Look how empty that shelf is. For the audio listeners, it's a very empty shelf.
It is a very empty shelf.
Just thought I'd just say that there.
It looks like it's got like just 2 jars on.
There are actually 2 jars on that shelf right there. But I'm in the process of moving at the moment. So once everything's all done and everything's back to normal, absolutely, you got loads and loads of ideas to bring to our Patreons in particular. So you guys can definitely look forward to that.
Yeah,
Tom, you did a bit of a faux pas there. You can't say when things are back to normal in 2020.
Well, that's true. That is very, very true.
In 2021,
we don't know.
Yeah.
In 2021.
Or should I say 2077, which nicely brings us back around to our first story of the week. Slightly slow week, understandably. Everyone, rightly so, stepped aside for more important voices to be heard over the last 7 days, which again, yeah, makes total sense. I can completely understand being quiet on every front bar the one that matters. First story of the week comes from, not from CD Projekt Red, but our good friends over at Stadia Source. Duncan in particular dug up some interesting news that on an article within the CD Projekt Red website, apparently Stadia is not getting Cyberpunk 27 day and date with the rest of the platforms. What the hell? Right?
Actually, when they've looked through it, I don't think was ever meant to be. I think when it got delayed, people assumed that it would be, but apparently we were wrong.
Yeah, but I was one of those people. I just presume with the delay that would give them enough time to pull all them strings nice and tight and have everything good to go, day and date. And here we are, yet again, finding out that we're going to be late to the party.
I think it probably depends on their workflow. If they're getting it optimized for PlayStation and Xbox and then porting it across, if the delay is probably just literally pushing that porting phase further back.
To put some of the facts on the line for you then, so it was meant to be releasing, well, it is releasing now on the 17th of September this year for PC, Xbox One and PS4, but all we've been told so far is by the end of the year. That's in quote marks, by the end of the year on Google Stadia. So as a bit of a throwback, we talked about this, I think it was in one of the first 10 episodes, of how long are we willing to wait for this? Because going from 17th of September to the end of the year, there's a solid 3 months there. Like, how we've all been very vocal of saying that we want to get it on Stadia. Like that's one of the reasons why I know I personally invested in this service, because big titles like that, I want to be able to get them day and date without the hassle. It's a huge selling point for Stadia, but 3 months later, let's say they do actually push it to the end of that time scale, like, I don't know if I'm willing to wait that long.
I'm not.
I'm going to be honest.
I'm not.
I don't. I think it really depends for me in what I'm playing at the time, because I still have a few big games that I want to play. Like, I haven't touched Final Fantasy VII yet, and that's a definite play for me. So whenever I get round to playing that, I'm still playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So whenever I get round to that, if that's later in the year that I'm playing that, or it's still in my backlog, then I will be happy to wait because I've got something else to take up that time. But if it gets to like September and I don't really have anything pressing out where I want to play, then yeah, I might just. I don't want to play it on PlayStation because of fan noise and load times and downloads and all that crap. But
yeah, it's a little bit disheartening, if I'm totally honest, because like you said, Tom, that's a big window leading into the end of the year. We could essentially be getting this probably around, my guess is, middle of the 3 months, so November time, which means we're going to be getting it. Stadia will have been out pretty much a year at this point, one whole year, and you're telling me one of the biggest titles isn't out day and date. So what's next? Is Marvel's Avengers also going to be knocked back a little bit further, because that was another game that's been delayed? And then do we end up wrapping out a year of Stadia having no day and date AAA titles except for Doom? That's not a good
Doom,
look.
I think with Doom, you've got the caveat that even Doom 2016 it still hasn't launched.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
That's, which is weird. I still find that weird, but
it's just one of those things where I'll hold my hand up. I'll be getting it on PlayStation now. I'm not waiting. I want to be part of the conversation as a gamer who's going to watch podcasts, who's going to listen to shows, who's going to talk to friends who are playing it on other platforms. I don't want to be that guy who's just hanging fire for the sake of it. If I have the money and I've got the means to play it, I'm going to play it on the platform that's downstairs in my living room, hooked up to the TV. Yes, I'm going to have a pain in the ass 80 gig download install size. Yes, there's going to be a 10 gig day one patch, and it's going to be a right ball ache. But you know what? A day, 2 days detached from that, I'll have played 20 hours of it. I can talk to my friends. I can not worry about avoiding spoilers over the top. It's one of those things.
You know what? You're selling me on playing it on PlayStation, actually. It does come down to what I'm playing at the time, but if I am still playing like Final Fantasy, I'll probably be, okay, that's coming, let's get this game wrapped up.
And the reality is now is, for our show, are we not going to want to talk about Cyberpunk together for our podcast, for our game talk chats?
I think for this podcast anyway, I think we always should just keep away from spoilers in games unless they're old
100%.
games. Just because,
I think I have to almost like wear it on my sleeve now and say for the most part that actually this is quite disheartening to get some news like this. There are people in the community who've always said, and Richie, you touched on it before, that we were never actually told it was coming day and date. Nobody's actually said the words. The words haven't been officially out there coming to Stadia the same day. There has been a lot of assumption about that. But you'd like to think that with the delay from April down to September, that they would have it in line. Obviously, I know there've been bigger issues at hand in the wider scope of the world, but it's something that I feel like we've been a little bit missold on, and we obviously want to experience it on Stadia because of the benefits of the platform. Like as you said, Chris, we don't want the day one patch, we don't want the install time, we want the fast loading times, particularly with a big game like that as well. But for me, this is sort of it's this crux that Stadia has, where there's just this problem around not communicating things correctly. And with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, I feel like people do need to be more vocal about these shortcomings, shall we say, because they've got to get this shit together, because we are 6 months on now, 7 months on even, and there are still problems from day one that haven't been solved. You can't expect to go into the next generation without having solved these problems, because you are going to die. You're going to fall on your ass and die very quickly and get swept under the rug.
The thing I'm feeling at the moment is, and how Stadia as a platform has been treated, it's almost as if it's a second tier platform for current generation, which is absolutely not where it needs to be when the next generation is about to launch. They need to be, before the PlayStation 5 and before the Xbox Series X comes out, they need to be the best on the market in the current generation, at the very least, for me. Otherwise, it's just going to get destroyed. Yeah. You're going to get absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, Tom, I know a few weeks back, I think you mentioned that you've barely touched your PlayStation 4 and you've started playing Stadia a hell of a lot more. And I have as well. All the free games, the pro games, I should say, that I've been getting have really given me a good mixed palette of games to test out and try. And I do really feel like I've broadened my horizons in terms of what genres I'm playing and what I'm jumping into. And looking forward, my intention was to use Stadia as my third-party quote-unquote console. The likes of Cyberpunk and Avengers were my big flagpole things I was looking forward to playing on Stadia at the end of this year. As I've just said, now I'm going to deviate back to the tried and tested method of that box sat under my television downstairs.
Absolutely.
Because it works. It still works. Yes, it costs more to buy hardware-wise. Yes, it's got painful downloads. But guess what? The platform works. I'm going to get that day and date with Xbox, PC, not Nintendo Switch for obvious reasons, but
retcon on what I said last week. Since I said that, I have actually started playing my PlayStation a lot more since, particularly with the recent release of the PS Plus games. That's just been more than enough to entice me back there. Yes, there've been those frustrations again, and obviously Stadia does have the upper hand in certain elements there, but I don't know. I'm going to try and put a positive spin on this for you gents as well. Perhaps they're delaying it on Stadia to potentially line it up for next gen. So perhaps the delay is not coming day and date on current gen because Stadia, and this is pure speculation, I've got absolutely nothing to go on here, right? So please take it with a pinch of salt. But perhaps they are working on Stadia 2.0 behind the scenes, upgrading the hardware, the architecture, the whole service, ready for next gen, so they can launch Cyberpunk as soon as that is done. Perhaps. I don't know. I'm just trying to stay on the positive side of things here. I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But don't think you are.
Yeah. No, I know. It's wishful thinking.
I'd like to think that's a great move, because that would be the one caveat, I suppose, to how they could market it and say, look, the reason it's being held back is because on Stadia we're able to push the graphics to the absolute max without needing to go out and buy a new console, which is a great marketing message. My worry is how far out of the story, out of the news cycle it will be by that point. When you're going to look at billboards, buses, television advertisements, YouTube ads are going to be Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, this holiday 2020, get your new next-gen consoles, play all your old games, play forwards compatibility, smart delivery, all that. and Stadia just slowly but surely starts to just climb back under the rock, essentially.
The thing is, I think Google coming out last year with Stadia, they basically give themselves 1 year to get in front of the competition, and they're still lagging behind. If you think about it, if you were to get just a general consumer, someone who enjoys games but not the most hardcore gamer ever, put a PlayStation 4 Pro, an Xbox One X, and Google Stadia in front of them, which platform do you think they'd go to?
I think I'll Stadia.
It would either be the PlayStation or the Xbox, depending on probably exclusive type, what games they want to play.
Yeah, and this is where the marketing.
I think Google is now currently third. If you had Nintendo in there, Google's fourth. At PC, it drops down to 5th place in the gaming market.
Yeah, they need that mindshare going into next gen,
and that the developers will be aware. So Stadia is a secondary priority to CD Projekt Red. They're not a massive publisher, a developer. Let's be fair.
They're an indie team, technically.
Yeah, they are an indie developer.
It's one of those things. Like the marketing for Cyberpunk could have been amazing. So essentially, you get yourself a controller. You've got no patch updates or day one downloads, like I said. And you'd like to think by the end of the year it may be available on iOS, on more devices, tablets, Android and such otherwise. They've got the resolution up 4K on Chrome browsers, so they are slowly chipping away and getting there. Imagine if Cyberpunk comes out and it's the Game of the Year contender. Everyone's talking about 10 out of 10. It's going to win all these awards come the end of 2020. You can play that on however many devices you own in your home by just subscribing and buying the game for £40, £50, $60, whatever it might be. You don't need to drop 400, 500 quid dollars on a brand new box to sit under your television. So to parents and such going to Christmas, which we've echoed time and time again on this show, the cost of entry is practically non-existent in comparison to the rest of them. But without the games to drag the audience in, it's going to fall flat.
Absolutely.
It's all well and good us mention like things like the cost of entry and like how much of that would be brilliant sell to parents. Google aren't selling it to parents.
Yeah.
They're just not. I've seen a lot of Stadia adverts now on YouTube, getting swamped with them. It's starting to get annoying. But the adverts are kind of just meh. This thing exists, and it's not like I don't know who they're pitching it at.
I just don't think they've got the priorities in order. Like it just seems like we get that things are working behind the scenes. We know that we've got stuff coming. We know we've got features that are coming, but it still doesn't feel like we've actually got something to the extent of anything to be massively excited about. Like, again, it all boils down to the one thing we've been bloody harping on about week after week, which is this roadmap. We need to know what's coming and when. Set yourself some bloody targets and tell us what they are, because the community wants to know. We want to know when we can message other people in the app, which still is not a feature.
It's a basic feature. It's not there.
It is a basic feature. I can text someone from a phone. I can text someone from a phone from the early 2000s. Like, how is it not a feature? I'm sorry.
Going back to Cyberpunk, this is arguably the biggest title coming this year. Get your team to CD Projekt Red, or now probably via Skype, Discord, or Microsoft Teams, and fight your corner. Get this day and date. Drop the money, whatever money you need, because this is like, as we've just been alluding to, Chris, you've just said you're playing on PlayStation, so people have moved over to the Stadia platform and now going to migrate back for games like this.
Yeah, you've lost my £60 by not investing in getting it across. Like you said, Richie, it might cost more money to maybe pay CD Projekt Red or do whatever you can to supplement them getting a day and date. But the reality is, the lack of investment on that part is going to knock them back how many times in terms of marketing and user share, essentially, by people not. They've lost my 60 quid, so would that not 6 quid been invested back from Google's side?
I just want to add to that very quickly. Sorry, Richie. That's Chris, right? That's what I want to try and get across here as a message to everybody listening, and if this somehow reaches the Stadia team as well. Chris has just said those words right there. You've lost the £60. That is one person within the community, but I can absolutely guarantee you he is not the only person in the community. Just one person saying that vocally on a podcast on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Plug the podcast right there. That is the general consensus in the community right now. People are pissed off by that fact right now. And the Stadia team need to recognize that. They need to recognize and act on it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you think of the amount of effort we put into this podcast, it's a Google Stadia-centric podcast every single week. We're absolutely the people you don't want to be losing. You don't want us migrating back over. You want us championing your platform, not talking about this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a platform in terms of us like seating ourselves on a throne to basically say to people like, right, you should listen to what we say and so on. But the point I want to get across there is that one person in the community is saying it, but it's not just Chris. There are, like, I can go to the comments on a lot of different platforms, and in Stadia Source alone, there are so many comments of people saying that's basically it.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. I'm wrapping up now.
Yeah, I felt sorry for Duncan over at Stadia Source, who kind of found the story, and he was essentially just the messenger. But in the threads and Discord and Reddit and stuff, I saw him getting a lot of stuff. And I think at one point he said, "Look, I'm just the guy who found the news." I think he actually referred to himself as the harbinger of like death or bad news.
Harbinger of doom.
Yeah, just because he finds obviously the nitty gritty details, and this is the kind of stuff that shouldn't be hidden and brushed under the carpet. It should be addressed forefront, and we would know this if we had a roadmap.
Yeah. Yep.
Coming soon is starting to wear mighty thin on my.
It's very thin. It's the coming soon and shadow dropping everything, and several times on this podcast alone, it does feel like Stadia is still lagging behind the platforms which are already out there in a lot of key metrics.
We just plead to you again, Stadia team, like however we can get this message across to you, but please just try to fix this stuff, because we're not asking for the world. We're asking for the simple things to be rectified. I don't think it's a big ask. I really don't think it's a big ask.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what if Google Stadia is a failed thing? What happens to us? We move over to other platforms. We can still game, we still have fun with our games. It's Google yourselves, like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like, just get the shit in sorted. Like,
use them feet, create a roadmap, and walk the road with us. Not in front of us, trailing breadcrumbs of games behind you for us to follow. Ooh, pro game. Ooh, pro game. Ooh, pro game. We'll follow that road. We're here. We believe in the system. That's what we're trying to get across. I 100% will be getting Cyberpunk on Stadia. However, if it ain't there, I can't buy it. So what do? Yeah. I'm drawn in by all my friends and peers and podcasts and everything in my social feed that's telling me to buy this. It's available now. That's why I go and see movies on midnight releases like Asado. That's why I buy DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. Yeah, it's why I want it there and then. I want to be a part of that conversation, and I can't be part of that conversation if it's not out.
Google Stadia is an amazing piece of technology. It works basically flawlessly if you've got a decent internet connection and you're not using like archaic network connectors on your PC or laptop or whatever. It works. It's an amazing piece of technology that you are ruining by shit like this.
Yeah, but either way, we've got some more news to clarify as well. So not only the Cyberpunk stuff that dropped as well. You're along for the ride now, ladies and gentlemen. You're a good half an hour into the podcast nearly.
It's a ranty
that's right.
Show.
It's going to be one of those episodes. We are sorry. We always do try and keep it light and positive, but the truth is this stuff needs to be addressed. And guess what? In a quiet news week, guess what topics come to the kind of top of the spoils? It's what's resting on our minds, because we've got no free games to distract us this week. We've got no stories, topics of conversation other than this. As of today, the day of recording, Sunday, our own country's BBC, you may have heard of it, it's a small independent news outlet. They've dropped an article today about does Google Stadia, 6 months in, does it live up to the hype? And we've seen these articles come out from many, many news agencies, obviously some more tech-centric ones, who you would probably take their opinion with a bit more of an oomph. So BBC have came out within their news round kind of division, and we've got some interesting points that we just want to clarify. For anyone who's listening at the BBC, we do pay tax to go towards this, so we technically should have a say on that in some small percentage. There's a few points in the article. You can head over to BBC, just search on the BBC website for Stadia. You'll see the article at the top of the pile, and essentially they've got pros and cons weighed up against each other, and there's a few things that just aren't right. It is a news article, they're not true. Yeah.
Can I just start by saying, what the fuck is the BBC doing dicking around in the gaming space? Like,
they have a games column.
what? Why? Like, who wants that from the BBC?
Newsround has always been a platform that tries to promote it. It's sort of like the news outlet for youngsters, for kids and teens essentially. So this is their way of sort of like giving relevant news to people in that space. And I suppose if you think about it that way, Stadia does fall into that ballpark of like that age range really. So it does make sense, but it's a bit of an uneducated article if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean,
this is kind of my point. It's gaming. It's a niche topic to get into. So if you are going to be reporting on it, know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The article's not up there with the most popular articles of the day. It's nowhere near what you can imagine is at the top at this current time. But in terms of the article itself, it breaks down the pros. So they've got no downloading and unlimited space. Fantastic. They then continue on to say, in theory, Stadia is like Netflix. That's one of the worst lines that I've heard used to represent Stadia. I can totally understand where people come from in the way it streams, but that gives such a false impression in the very first pro towards Stadia, describing it.
It's misleading because when people think of Netflix, they think of a streaming service. You pay a monthly subscription and everything. That isn't Google Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing it has in common really with Netflix is that it's cloud-based.
Yeah, it streams.
Everything else is much closer, like what Sony and Microsoft or Steam or Nintendo offer, only without physical hardware.
Yeah. So in terms of Pro, though, it's totally right in what it says next. It says, you don't have to worry about running out of space on your computer or your console. Google stores all the games online. Fantastic. That is a massive, massive Pro. It's one of the best features that it has.
I've got a 1 terabyte PS4, and I regularly have to delete things.
Yeah.
And I don't have much in the way of captures or anything.
Yeah, and the fan sounds just like it's going to explode even when you're on the home screen sometimes. The second point they bring up is you can play it anywhere. So they state that, again, not quite true, but Google Stadia games can be played on a device that has Google Chrome on it. That's also not true, just because you've got Chrome. I don't believe it.
To that, which I'll get into a bit later, because I found a bug in the system.
So you can use it on televisions, laptops, tablets, and even a smartphone. Tom? Your smartphone?
Yes.
You've been playing it
I can't play on it. I've got the Google Chrome app on iPhone, but I can't play on it. Yeah. But then again, that's because Apple do this stupid thing with even other browsers on your phone. They still have to run off a Safari base, so it's all essentially Safari with a skin is what it is.
Safari with a skin.
Have you ever seen any sort of like repair guides or anything? Any like Apple like Macs and stuff? They don't do it. You cannot repair a Mac.
Yeah, so
to clean them well without voiding warranties.
I have a couple of old iPads that are now defunct and do not get updates, and I have been trying to jailbreak them. Jailbreak them to see if I can get Android on them, but to no avail. No, it's impossible.
Again, they do clarify.
I've been watching a lot of custom build PC content while I was designing my own, and I've seen stumbled across a lot of things where, like, if you have like an iMac and you want to, clean out the insides, I don't know, something simple as dust it, it'll void the warranty.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about dusting anything with Stadia.
Apple don't play well with us, basically, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. The next point they make of saying, they do actually state in the article iPhones still can't play it, but they don't expand on it any more than that. It just, again, sounds like it's Stadia's fault, not necessarily the Apple side of things, which we know it's probably more their rules and regulations that are slowing down the process. Next point was squash those bugs. So Stadia also means you don't need to wait for lengthy downloads and updates. You basically get the latest version at always, which, totally agree. Definitely a massive pro. We boot up the game, gentlemen, and bang, there it is, ready to go. Fantastic. Then they flip over to the cons, however, and this is where if you're going to post something in a news article out to the world as a negative con, so something that's going to bring the overall story down, why you shouldn't get this, it needs to be correct. So the first one is kind of right. It needs a decent internet connection required.
That's what I'm laughing at. In 2020, a con is internet required. That is the line.
Yeah, for a streaming service. Yeah, I mean, you need that for anything, right? For
PS4.
Well, yeah, technically to get the latest patches and stuff. That's true. So they've stated in the article, Google Stadia hosts your game online. So you press the button, the signal has to go back to Google and then come back again, which we know all about. Ping, latency, all that kind of stuff. So with a poor internet connection, a game is more likely to lag. Yeah, most rural parts of the UK away from bigger cities, and we know the United States suffers from it as well. The internet isn't fantastic for the majority of people outside of like metropolitan areas. That's the reality of the internet, and it's only going to get better over time. Thankfully, the internet isn't going to go backwards.
That's a valid con there, but actually a very good valid con. If you're living in an area that has poor internet, Stadia isn't going to be very good for you.
Yeah.
However,
and I wouldn't recommend it.
Infrastructure in the UK is pretty good, even in rural parts. I think most places can get up to minimum like 50 megabits per second, which is suitable for Stadia.
It's still not great, but
it's pretty good, but it has vast room for improvement, because as far as we compare to other countries around the world, the UK is actually significantly behind in terms of average internet speeds across the globe.
Yeah. And there is some parts of the country, things like the Lake District, national parks, it's not as simple as the internet provider needs to lay down some cables, so there's rules and regulations. It's a lot more complicated in them areas.
Completely. And again, that's just a very small country just off the coast of France, essentially. The United States and the rest of the world, I'm sure their infrastructure is a lot basically more complex and different, with many, many different suppliers. So that kind of brings up my own con, which is why we can't use it using LTE, 4G, 5G yet. We've got 5G being rolled out across the country, well, across the globe. Some think it's creating problems medically, that it's not, but that's a whole different caveat to look at. Well, not even look into. It's bullshit, but either way.
It's bullshit. If you think that, you're wrong. Let's move on.
But move on. But in terms of that for me is a con. I should be allowed to play it on my phone without being on a Wi-Fi restriction, because in many ways, my 4G, 5G is 3 times faster than my home broadband. Well,
a lot of phone providers now actually offer a gaming data package where gaming applications don't actually count towards your data allowance.
Yeah, that's very true. They do it for music, video, and a bunch of other subscriptions as well. So
I mean, Stadia feels like it will be an abuse of that service.
Oh yeah,
massively.
That's not Google. Use it.
Yeah, 100%. So internet required, we'll give them that one. Totally agree with that con. The next one, Richie, which I think is where your biggest bugbear lies, is Crossplay Wars is the subtitle. Crossplay is a feature which allows people from different consoles to play the same games together, but it works differently for Stadia players. When you play a multiplayer game on Google Stadia, you're only playing with other people on Google Stadia, says Elle. Which, by the way, Elle in the article is classed as a gaming expert. That is her title the article has given her.
I've never heard of her before. But
so she's Elle is a TV presenter and journalist. She talks video games and tech for BBC, Ubisoft, and more. She's also the BAFTA Games red carpet host. So as she speaks video games and tech for Ubisoft, I'd like to think she has a little bit of know-how. I will be reaching out to her following this podcast for clarification on these comments, because it is clear that, as Richie is about to get into, there are huge gaps in what's being published here.
It's a very short statement.
Chris read it verbatim. I'm going to read the first sentence again. But it works differently for Stadia players. That is categorically not true. Crossplay works the same regardless of what platform you're on, and it's down to 2 things. First of all, does the platform holder permit it? And secondly, is it coded into the specific game? Google has said right from day one, they're cool with crossplay. This is one that is down to the developers to implement. It could be compatibility issues between the versions. There is potential there. But the fact that it claims it works differently for Stadia players is absolutely wrong. And actually, the worst proponents for not liking crossplay is actually PlayStation, by far. Mm-hmm. They had to basically be coerced by Epic into allowing it.
What about Nintendo?
But
But
it's just categorically not true. And there is games that already use crossplay. The Division 2 does, between Xbox and PC, I think, players. At the moment.
Stadia and PC, yeah.
Yeah, what else
PUBG?
was there?
PUBG is Xbox and PS4.
Elder Scrolls Online will have crossplay and cross progression.
And more recently on Pro Games, we've got Power Rangers, which is crossplay with every platform.
That's the first one. You're right. Yeah, you're completely right. So read that sentence out again, Richie.
Okay. I've lost the sentence. But it works differently for Stadia players. That, just to be clarified, that wasn't Elle who said that. That is not in the quote. It's just before the quote. However, she does say when you play multi-game on Google Stadia, you're only playing with other people on Google Stadia. So she is wrong.
Wrong, unfortunately.
That then goes on to say, this has been a bit frustrating for some Stadia players, and it means it can feel a bit lonely at times. A few players have noticed an increase in bots in some games, perhaps to help them feel less empty.
That's a valid statement, I actually think. Things like Destiny does suffer from the install base on Google Stadia, and with MMO, generally, you need people in there.
Yeah, but again, the point comes up, that is not Google Stadia that is at fault there, because that is actually Bungie who have not provided the platform to be able to be cross-platform. If Bungie were to open up Destiny 2 as cross-platform with Xbox and PlayStation at the same time, it would boost those numbers dramatically. The problem there falls on the publisher, the developer, not on the platform.
Yeah, Destiny actually had a big update this week, or an update. They had like a tease reveal, something where if you went to the home world, that you saw something that happened in the sky, I believe.
Season's coming.
It was the end of one season, start of another. It was essentially, the easiest way to put it is like think of one of the live events that happens in Fortnite per season. With like, it was essentially that you had to be there then as it happened to witness it.
Yeah. I will say, actually, just thinking about it, there is one thing in Google Stadia that makes crossplay a bit more tricky for balance reasons, and that's that you can play with a gamepad or mouse and keyboard. That creates balance issues. Now, PUBG handled that and have managed to handle that very well throughout their entire life by being able to split the servers by input choice. But some games like Destiny, that may be more tricky because it's a bigger game. So there's probably very valid reasons why the game developers haven't. It's not, I doubt it's very much just, we just need to flick this switch. There's probably more to it than that. But again, this isn't down to Google.
Yeah, so it's one of those weird ones. And then they follow that up with stepping away from crossplay wars. To another one which I think we've been harping on about since episode 1, which is no ownership. So the article continues to say, if someone purchases a game through Stadia, they don't really own the product. And I quote, "It's like borrowing a game from your friend. You can play it as much as you want, but it isn't yours." Elle explains, the gaming expert. So if Google Stadia closes down or you leave the service, you won't be able to play the games you bought anymore. Which one of you wants to take that particular one?
I'll let Tom go, otherwise the episode title is going to be Richie rants about everything.
I think the only thing I really have to add here is that if you look at a lot of things at the moment, like people purchase music digitally on a huge scale, like iTunes, Google Play Store? Is it Google Play or Google Music?
From people actually it's kind of to streaming music.
Yeah, people stream music. People purchase things digitally now. We're moving away from a physical media. Nobody can deny that. Except Chris. Look at the background there. People do it for collectors' reasons, but the vast majority of people now do not buy things for the physicality of it, unless you are a collector. Most things are purchased digitally and downloaded, whether it's on the PlayStation Store, whether it's on the Microsoft Store for Xbox, whether it's on the Nintendo Store. I mean, hell, I know on my Switch, I've got maybe like 5 physical games and everything else is downloaded.
These some clear advantages to physical media, in that it preserves the game. So things like the Wii U store is gone. So if there was a download-only game for Wii that isn't downloaded to your Wii, you can't get it anymore. So they are kind of right in saying that. But again, the absolute fallacy of the statement is if someone purchases a game through Stadia, they don't really own the product. That is actually a true statement. That's 100% true statement.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also 100% true on every game you've ever bought. You purchase a license. I've got, you can't see, but I've got Warcraft 3 on my shelf behind me. That has a CD key stuck to the manual that I need to use to activate my license to use that piece of software. You don't own the game, you own a license to use it.
I'd also like to point out that this argument is a little bit irrelevant without looking at other services or without quoting the other services as well, particularly looking at Steam on PC, which has been running for 10 plus years now. Every single title available on Steam is purchased through the same means that you get it on Stadia. Saying that there's no ownership there, again, yes, the statement is absolutely 100% correct, but is it a con? Is it really a con when there are people who have thrown thousands upon thousands of pounds into their Steam library and have built up libraries of hundreds of games over the years, but they don't own them? They still purchase them, but I just feel like that's a little bit of a con for the sake of putting something down.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's a false comparison where they're using this as if other platforms are different.
Yeah.
Where it's actually no, it's all the same. You purchase a license, and if a server if Destiny 1, for example, if Bungie closed down the services, that game is dead, regardless of what platform you're on. Regardless, you could have it on your Steam library, on your PlayStation, and your Xbox.
Yeah. If Epic shut down Fortnite, if Epic switch off Fortnite, the servers, get rid of the server blades, the game's gone. Doesn't matter where you bought it, whether you went to a shop and bought a digital key or bought it on your PlayStation or Xbox, the game's gone.
Yeah. Actually, something that did happen to me in the past was I was a big Dragon Age Origins fan, and I don't think Origins was affected, but I think Dragon Age 2 on Steam was actually pulled by EA and moved over to their Origin client, and then there was massive uproar about it. And for a couple of weeks, I actually couldn't play Dragon Age 2 on Steam, and I'd have to have purchased it again on EA's client, and EA were well within their rights to do that. Ultimately, I think they settled and allowed it to go back. But I didn't own the game. I owned a license, and EA revoked my access to it.
We see it all the time. We saw it with Activision when they removed like the Deadpool game and certain licensed things that had deals with Marvel and other which, and like you just can't buy that game digitally anymore. So great if you've got a physical copy, but if you plug it into your PlayStation in 10 years' time, you're going to get the version on the disc. You're not going to get the latest updated patched version. But then when it goes back, like you said, for comparison, if I buy a game digitally, like FIFA 20 is now £9, I think, on the PlayStation Store as part of the Days of Play deal. If I buy that for £9 now, that's great, but it's still digital, just like it is on Stadia. The articles and a lot of these kind of news outlets are just always under the impression that Stadia's going to like flop and disappear. Which surely the reality is any of them could go. Look at the high street right now. I know it's a total brick and mortar, totally different, but how many people probably have gift cards for how many shops that aren't going to exist in 2-3 months' time? And then they're going to have a whole argument like, oh, but I've got the currency, I've got that, I've bought the game digitally, I've got that. But then if the thing doesn't exist in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, having the receipt in the title, it's redundant, it doesn't matter. So it's a bit of a, again, I can see why they lean towards it, and you're right in saying the statement is technically true, but
it's the way they word it, and they're wording it as if it's a comparison to other services.
It's unique to Stadia, which it's not.
I think that's what the shortfall of this whole article is that it's got a very, very much like a tunneled lens on Stadia, and it's not looking at the bigger scope of things really. So it feels a bit biased in that sense, really.
My impression of the article overall is someone who isn't involved in the ecosystem of gaming pretty much full stop has scratched at the surface and wrote an article on it.
Yeah. And then the kind of final point as well, just to move the story on so we can get it all out of our systems and move on with our days, is they reached out to say what a game is saying, so what are people saying. So there's one in particular which I saw. Frankie Ward streams games on Twitch. No offense, I've never heard of Frankie Ward. She's probably never heard of us. That's the masses of the internet for you. Frankie Ward streams games on Twitch. She says Stadia isn't an option for her because of the extra pressure on her internet. So she won't be playing Stadia because of the extra pressure on her internet as a streamer.
I don't necessarily think Stadia is going to be more demanding than streaming other services, but I don't think it's as impactful as people think, because Stadia is largely relying on your download speed, where streaming is largely relying on your upload speed.
Correct. The other thing I would add as well is obviously by taking on the platform as well, we've experienced it. We're part of this community and we do it fairly regularly. It actually massively frees up physical resources for streaming purposes. So it's 6 of 1 half a dozen of another kind of thing. Really?
I mean, I was streaming Assassin's Creed Odyssey with Richie.
An interesting thing is, I can stream through my browser, but I can't stream through my Chromecast, my Elgato, just because of the extra resources required by my PC.
Yeah, but I think in a quick nutshell, anyway, I think the biggest thing out of all this is, again, if we had that roadmap we alluded to earlier in the show, Google could be working behind the scenes to stream it from their own end and totally alleviate any of this internet connectivity issue anyway. If they would come out with this whole screen share, streamers, the YouTube integration, all those features that we mentioned nearly a year ago now, if we had that roadmap, we might be able to sit here and go, hey, you know what, I can stream from Google servers and it actually doesn't have any impact on my home setup at all, but we just don't know what that future looks like yet.
Some people in the community talk about how they've got like 3 or 4 Stadia setups in their home. I mean, I'm guessing they've got pretty good internet to handle it, but this Frankie Ward hosts a lot of esports events, so I'm guessing she's not on like basic dial-up or basic broadband.
I'd hope so.
I'm gonna go ahead and again, I don't want to be this guy who sits here on a platform and just like constantly criticizes things, because I'm not about that. But I do feel like when they say what are gamers saying as the BBC, and they have quotes from 2 people, it's not really representative of the gaming community, in my opinion. You've got a gaming YouTuber who mainly focuses on Minecraft and quite frankly, like young children. Animal Crossing, Spyro, loads and loads of others, Mario Maker and so on. You know, Stampy Longhead he's a respectable YouTuber. He's got like over 9 million subs, so he's doing something right. But again, it's very categorically like what their audience is looking at and so on. I mean, he says some nice things. He says that the cloud-based gaming has a bright future. Absolutely. We know we're at the forefront of this. It's going to change everything. But having the scopes of 2 famous people within the gaming industry, esports and YouTube, is still very, very limited, I think. Like it doesn't really fully represent people's actual experiences of it.
It doesn't really seem like they've reached out to anyone who streams Stadia content.
Should have got in touch with them.
I do think there's a huge room for growth within the Stadia community there as well at the moment, because the platform is very minuscule in comparison. But I do think, wrapping this up a little bit on this particular topic, I do think the article is written from a perspective of trying to stay neutral, which the BBC essentially, has to be quite renowned for doing. It has some very positive quotes in there, but there are problems with it. It's not properly researched. It's not backed up by actual statistics or anything like that. So it can't really be taken for.
Yeah. This is why I was saying it feels like they've just kind of scratched the surface of it rather than digging into the research properly. I just get the impression reading this, they are trying to be neutral, but there's a handful of things, mainly in the criticism side, that are just easily refutable.
Yeah. They would have been better looking and just did like a quick YouTube search, something, found Stadia Cast or something like that, reached out to Bill and Lloyd and just said, you've been playing it, represent this, what are your takes on it? And taking a few of their opinions, a few of non-Stadia players' opinions, and doing a more detailed article about that. But again, the reality is, like I said, limiting your pool of research essentially has limited the article. And now it's essentially just 3 pros, 3 cons that you could have got off the Google website, off the Stadia website about what it does and doesn't do. Formed an opinion and then got a few quotes to throw in there. That's essentially all the article is. Yeah, it does give that spin where everything's not quite factual.
How many people do we know in the Stadia content creator community that would have jumped at the chance to be name dropped in a BBC article?
Yeah, you could have got 3 opinions right here. Am I right?
You could have reached out to Stadia Source, who publish news every day on Google Stadia.
Yeah.
They know what they're talking about over there.
Yeah. Well, good segue there, Richie. Good segue. Speaking of content creators in the community like Stadia Source, we did mention at the top of the show, we've managed to stretch those topics out, clearly get stuff off our chests. I feel a lot better for that. I don't know about you guys. If you're listening along or watching along at home, it's good to talk about it. It's good to talk about it. But what we wanted to do, just to wrap up the show, is really spend some time, a couple of minutes, just to highlight some of the other content curators within the Stadia community and just highlight some of the great work that they have have been doing, and I think we'd be fools for not starting at the in no particular order, but I personally would like to start with the team over at Stadia Source. We get a lot of our news and information, as Richie mentioned, from Stadia Source. Dan, Duncan, of course, Want to Escape, Lord Moore and Adam, I know, and there is a wider team who freelance and write articles for Stadia Source as well, but I really do think they are doing tremendous work over there. They're on top of it. The articles drop sometimes before even the bigger news outlets get the story. They are so tuned in to the Stadia ecosystem in the world. It makes our lives a lot easier, and I think we just wanted to say a massive thank you for all the great work the guys are doing over at Stadia Source. It really does mean a lot. And
you're always welcome on the show.
100%. 100%.
That goes to the rest of the guys as well about a name.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've got a list again, no particular order. We've just jumped in and pulled out some names. We'll jump back and forth. If you want to take one at a time, gentlemen, to go through, we'll just pass back and around.
Can do, yeah. So I'll give a massive shout out as well to Chase over at Stadia Talk and Eddie Player One as well. Again, two fantastic members of the Stadia community as well. They churn out content on such a regular basis that there's always things there for you guys to watch. Eddie has been putting up some brilliant Let's Plays recently. Chase always does his weekly Stadia Talks as well. You sit down and have breakfast with him on a Saturday morning. I mean, for us, it's usually mid-afternoon. But by that point, I'm sitting in the garden having a drink. Yeah, I'm sitting in the garden having a drink in the sun. But it's always really good just to sit down and just have a chat as a community. And it's all light-hearted stuff. There's nothing too deep in the morning talks. Then we have this week on Stadia Unfiltered podcast with Chase, Eddie, and Black Kai as well over there. Fantastic guys once again. Same group of people, but that's where we start to get some real deep dives into the news, really. But it's always fantastic to speak to those gents. They are brilliant. If you haven't already, definitely go check out their content as well. That's over at Stadia Talk and Eddie Player One.
They even swear on the Unfiltered show.
Before I continue, I just want to say, I look at the names there and I feel a bit guilty that I just never seem to have enough the time I want to actually watch all these guys' content, between having a full-time job, doing Sounds of Stadia, actually gaming myself.
Yeah. Your two children.
Other hobbies and whatnot. Did you just say two children?
Yeah.
I don't have two kids. I don't have any kids. I've got two nephews. That counts. But I just don't get the time to watch as much content as I can. And I always feel guilty because there's some fantastic creators there. But I want to give a shout out now to Duncan. Chris mentioned him through Stadia Source, but Duncan does more stuff as well outside of Stadia Source. He started doing the occasional streams as well, but one of the biggest contributions he always does every single week is the weekly Stadia Roundup on Reddit. And it is perfect if you're looking for easy access to all the main news stories. He's always active on Twitter, breaking the news through Stadia Source or through himself, developers, appearing on other people's shows like Our Spitling Spectacular. But yeah, shout out to Duncan.
Yeah, definitely. Massive shout out to Duncan. The unofficial community updates are fantastic for just those bullet point wrap-ups. If you've had a busy week and you don't have time to digest a podcast or a show or scroll through articles left, right and centre on the internet, Duncan's bullet point summaries is wonderful to just skim through and get a quick update. Another one from me, again from all of us as a collective, is Brian over at Club Stadia, Captain America himself from the Stadia Initiative podcast. Go check that out if you haven't done so already. It brings together essentially the Avengers from around the Stadia community, as they self-title themselves, rightly so. And he does some wonderful work, some fantastic breakdowns of shows, deep dives. He does streams. But more importantly, I think keeping the 6 of the other members of the Stadia Initiative podcast in check, giving them a platform to share their thoughts and opinions, and he does some terrific work over at Club Stadia, and his meme game and GIF game on Twitter is on point as well, and he always has theories and predictions that really just make you want to tune in and pay attention to him. He's a fantastic guy. And again, it's people we've not had a chance to collaborate with yet. It's so these names are so familiar to me now, and I recognise them like brothers in the community, like you two, and we just haven't had that time. And again, Stadia's so new. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there one day. Reach out.
Fantastic. Also, a massive shout out to Rock over at Rock Cloud Gaming as well. Adam Rock over there has been absolutely fantastic again within the Stadia community. Fellow Brit like ourselves. He's got really, really suave speaker as well. I love the sound of his voice as well. He's got he's got such a good voice to listen to for podcasting and YouTube and so on. So yeah, he's been on the scene for a while now as well. He does a fantastic Rock Around the Clock section. He does Rock Stars at Night as well. If you ever want to check out some of these people that we're talking about today over on his channel there, definitely check that out. Go over there and click the reminder and get into one of those streams there, because he definitely showcases some of the talent in the Stadia community, and it's always an absolute blast to see those people.
Yeah, Rock does some great stuff over there.
Next,
we
have Megatron X, who I think she's actually must be slightly insane, because there's so many nights when I've had notification, oh, she's going live now as I'm going to bed, and when I sat there eating my breakfast in the morning, she's still going. She just seems to stream so much content. She's brilliant at it.
Yeah, and
definitely someone I'd like to work a bit more with.
Yeah, we really do. I spent some time in Meg's stream for our PUBG Content Creators Cup platform, and it was so nice to just get over that. No offense to you guys, but it was nice to break away from the sounds of Stadium mold, see how the other half lives on the other side, and just check out some of that content. I've jumped in on a few Meg streams, like you said, Richie, because they seem to be going at all hours of the day. And it's funny enough you should mention while you're eating your cereal, because this week she's been having a back and forth with her own chat group about she puts iced tea on her shreddies.
What?
Yep, that's the thing. They're not shreddies over there in Canada. They're something different, but they're essentially what we would call I think mini wheats. I think she said
mini wheats.
Mini wheats. Yeah, that's the thing she does.
I mean, I'd give it a go if it was available to me, but I've heard of a little ball on the side.
I've heard of orange juice and cornflakes, and apparently that's no. Apparently it's actually nicer than it sounds, but to me, I'd just be like, no.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Right. But again, this is how you eat cereal. Yeah. You pour some into a bowl, add your milk, grab a fresh handful, because let's be fair, who does? And that's it.
That's it. But in terms of Meg, though, again, I think I really do have to point out that is from as far as I'm aware, the only lady, the first lady of Stadia, someone would say, to be part of the Stadia community. It must take a massive kind of, I don't know not how to say energy-wise, but she's surrounded by guys, and guys are very different to ladies in all sorts of wonderful different ways. I feel I'd really be really intimidated in a room full of ladies. So I think the fact that she holds her own, if not like stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of some of the content she produces and what she brings to things like the Station Initiative podcast, it's fantastic. And I spoke to Meg, and she again echoed the same sentiments back, that she'd love to work with us in the future. And like I said, the door's always open, and you'll probably see something like that hopefully in the future. So shout out to Meg, massive kudos on all the work you do over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, it's just, sometimes it can just be, for live streams, it's just the different time zones we live in.
Totally. Actually, I'll take the next one, because MM2K is next on our list, and he was also part of the same stream for the PUBG Content Creators Cup. That guy brings so much energy to his content. Stadia Dosage, or you may know him as well. He's part of the Stadia Initiative too. Team Alpha or Bravo, I forget which one, but again, the energy he brings to the podcast, it's a delight to listen to. He's very clued in with the Stadia world. He knows what he's talking about. He's very opinionated with it all, and it's fantastic, and it's great to see again such a mixed bag of content creators all coming together across different platforms, and just showcasing how great Stadia is and how great a newly founded community can be. We've only been in existence for 6, 7, 8 months now. It just gets better and better. All these names jump off the page, and they deserve the recognition that they should have coming their way, and do get already.
Moving on then as well, we've got Wingy from The Glory of Stadia as well. Wingy the Wizard, as he likes to sometimes call himself as well. Fantastic content creator. Once again, I feel like I'm getting all of the Brits at the moment, but he's incredible chap right there. If you've not already checked out The Glory of Stadia, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, if you're invested in Stadia and you've not checked out Glorious Stadia, if you've not checked out Wingy's content, get over there. He's an absolute comedian. He's an absolute blast to listen to. If you want a bit of fun with Stadia content, definitely go check it out. He's taken a bit of a break more so recently with his content to focus on other things alongside, but he's always bringing out top-notch quality stuff as well. So check out The Glory of Stadia. Check out Wingy as well. Follow him on Twitter and just reach out and go and have a look at some of his stuff too.
So what can I say about Tommy Danger? He betrayed us. He was originally lined up to be our fourth man in the Stadia Creator Cup, but he decided to go. Did he go with Stadia Sauce in the end?
Now on the Sounds of Stadia hit list because of that.
Yeah.
We're kidding, of course.
Yeah, I joke. He's a fantastic guy. He did do the warm-up streams with us, and I think we won. I think our first chicken dinner was the first game he played with us. So cheers, Tommy. You helped bring the whole thing alive, and you were brilliant to work with.
Yeah, the Tommy Gun himself. And he has just launched a new channel as well, Tommy Danger as well, so go check that out. He's doing lots of cloud gaming streams as well. He'll always be Stadia Arcade Rose, the Tommy Gun himself from PUBG, but yeah, great guy. We've also got, if you're looking for something a little bit different in the Stadia community, look no further than our guy Andy Morphs as well, lined up. He's done some very interesting streams that tie in with some announced games, launch games. Very, very interesting. I believe he's another Brit from Yorkshire area, so not too far from ourselves. And he did a 24-hour stream. I was sitting in a wooden box to stream Get Packed. He did some slime attempt games, like Saturday morning kids TV shows with Ember when that launched. And all in all, he always goes above and beyond to just bring very, very different content from his Stadia backlit room, which I'm pretty sure is the loft or the attic. He's got kitted out, all gaming, all Stadia, looks amazing. But yeah, shout out to Andy. He's always making content as well, and he always tries to make you laugh along the way, and we really do appreciate that, because what's life without a bit of humour, eh, gents? Shits and giggles all the way. Big up to Andy.
Another shout out as well to Project Storm as well, who brings like very, very regular live streams across Stadia as well. So he plays all games. He took part in our Content Creators Cup as well. Apparently incredibly good at PUBG as well. So he's one to watch if you're playing PUBG on Stadia as well. If you see that name pop up, Project Storm, run for the hills, try and find a sniper and just take him out from a distance. But he plays all games across Stadia, whether it's NBA 2K20, whether it's Doom Eternal, whether it's PUBG. You could check it out if you want to check out any gameplay from the Stadia platform itself, streamed directly live to YouTube. Check out Project Storm.
Yeah. And Chris has actually just screwed me by changing the order. So next
I'm not touching anything.
Oh, well, I must have misread it. Next we have Raf Gaming. He's another brilliant member of the content creator community. He's constantly posting stuff. Again, he's one who always seems to manage to get some very interesting insights directly from developers. I follow him on Twitter, and some of the stuff he actually tweets about is actually quite insightful, and I use him actually quite often as a source.
Yeah. Worth shouting out that he's actually a young chap as well. He's tender young age of 19. Makes us look like absolute old chaps now, doesn't it? We're old boys on the internet at this point.
He's almost as old as Panzer Dragoon there, Tom.
almost. But he's a fantastic chap as well. He's so easy to talk to. So easy to talk to. Even as part of the community, just reach out and speak to him, and he'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has about Stadia.
Indeed, he will. Up next as well, we've got another PUBG Pro. We've got Pure Freeform Gaming, also known as LXIV, which is, correct me, Tom, is it? It's 64.
6'4", yeah, 6'4".
64 as well. Amazing content creator. Does a lot of live streams, a lot of action based. I think he does a lot of sport content as well. A lot of NBA and such over on there. And again, very lively channel, very easygoing gentleman to listen to. He's just got one of those voices where even just the second his podcast starts, he just goes straight into it, and it's smooth talk and smooth listening, a bit like Rock. Really easy. It's so hard to kind of like focus in on all these different channels, because again, it's so hard to get at the time to. But from the content I've checked out, it's some voices you just want to really engage with and just have on in the background and listen to as they talk about their love for games, genres, and the world as the Stadia community, essentially.
Definitely. Now, anybody in the Stadia community should already know about Stadia Cast, hosted by Bill and Lloyd. If you don't, once again, what the hell are you doing?
Never heard
Bill
of
and Lloyd are obviously they are such big advocates of Stadia. They have been at the forefront even before we started. They were back there going. There was something like episode 20 or something by the time we'd even kicked off. These guys have been following Stadia since day one. They're both fantastic human beings over from across the pond over in the States. They release release very regular content. They do a weekly podcast like us, and they release some really good, well-edited videos as well. Fantastic community over there. Definitely, if you have not already, go check out Bill, that's Run Jump Stomp, and Lloyd, which is Das Me, over on Twitter. Definitely check them out and get on their YouTube.
Next, we have Link TV, who is a very prominent streamer in the Stadia creator community. Again, I've not actually had much opportunity to catch any of his streams yet, and they tend to go quite long, glancing at his YouTube page, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours sort of stuff. But he's got a load of stuff in there, everything from PUBG to Octopath Traveler to Little Nightmares, which actually is streaming right now at the time of recording. So if you want to see people stream, yeah, definitely check them out. I intend to after this, as soon as we finish recording.
Even though by the time you're listening to this, it was yesterday or a few days ago. But great thing with YouTube is it stores the videos.
Well, I regularly, so you might be streaming again.
I had the pleasure of joining Link in the lottery round of the Content Creators Cup as well, and he's such. Once again, my vocabulary is so limited in the ways of describing these people, but he is such a down to earth, honest gentleman as well. Like he was fantastic, like so helpful with PUBG from start to finish as well in talking about and explaining which weapons are good for what attachments to put on different things. Just an absolute like proper chap to be with on your team as well. So very knowledgeable and very down to earth. So easy to talk to.
I just want to point out as well, he did do a 24-hour Stadia stream special with Megatron X, which I'm going to probably check that out, but well, bits of it because I don't have the time.
24 hours in the day. Speaking of down-to-earth individuals, well, we move on to Clive Illidan, who's been around for as far as I can remember us starting out as well within the Stadia community, or Lord Kensal of Stadia, as you may also know him as. He was in the PUBG Content Creators Cup with the Japanese headband. Hilarious. He was on your team, was he, Tom?
He was in the lottery round. He was on my team.
Wonderful gentleman, very, very insightful, very knowledgeable, really knows his stuff. And the room he produces it out of looks so sharp and tidy. It's amazing. I love the aesthetic he's got going on there. But again, very intellectual gentleman, brings a lot of topical conversation. He does a lot of comparisons in regards to deep dives and graphics. And he does have a Monday night Stadia chat as well. So after you listen to our podcast when it drops on a Monday, go check out his live show where he does bring on guests from time to time. But they basically do a deep dive on all the news and bring that to life for you to listen to and for your enjoyment out there. But yeah, top roster of people right there.
You also once again can't talk about cloud gaming in general without talking about Cloud Gaming Extreme as well. Marchief over at Cloud Gaming Extreme is once again an incredible producer of content right there. Very regular videos. You can expect to see videos drop nearly daily at that there with really well edited, well put together videos with a lot of deep diving discussions about all things cloud gaming, whether it is Stadia or other platforms as well. He once again had joined over on the Content Creators Cup over on PUBG, and behind the scenes as well helped out massively with some organizations with getting things involved like the Reddit community and so on. So I've got so many good things to say about all of these content creators, and once again I just want to take this opportunity as part of this section just to thank all of those people for really those who got involved with the Stadia Content Creators Cup, and we hope to be able to do so many other things with those people in future. But we hope for you guys listening now, if you haven't had the opportunity to check out any of those and you've liked the sound of some of them, then please do reach out and do check out their channels. We fully endorse and encourage that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump over the channel, subscribe, and watch as much content as you can, as long as you're still watching us. But yeah, I just want to echo that. I think one of the things, big piece of feedback we got from the Content Creator Cup was, when's the next one? I definitely, Tom, you need to get moved and then we'll talk.
Yeah, I'm actually really humbled by the reception of it all as well. It definitely makes me want to think about these things. But great reception is always well, very well taken to heart. But again, I'm sure I echo the two of you when I say here as well. We've only named some of the content creators in the community. There are so many more out there, and we apologize for any of them that we've missed off. Obviously, we'll have opportunities to talk about these in future. We're not saying this is by far not our last episode of the podcast. Is it really? So it's there's plenty of time to talk about these things. So
it's our last episode of the podcast this week.
Yes, this week.
Yeah, it's an ever-growing list, and again, there's so many up-and-comers as well that we've not had a chance to really check out and engage with yet because there's only so many hours in the day. I know there's other channels, Generation Stadia and such, which we just haven't touched on. Upcomers like Big Eddie Bear, and I know Ray Sharrod over at, I think he spots like Chasing Them as well. So many people, even in our own community, in our own smaller chat as well. Just the opportunities are there for you to go out and listen to them. We'd implore it because they're a wonderful, great group of people. It's a wonderful community, and again, there's another up and comer I think I just really want to highlight. You may have not heard of. It's the Sounds of Stadia channel. It's brought to you by just three individuals, three young dashing gentlemen from the UK. I think it was Chris, Tom, and I think the third guy was Richie. I don't know if he's part of the channel or not, but he seems to be in every episode, so I've just presumed
Mitchie?
so. Mitchie, yeah. But I want to personally take this opportunity when we're talking about recognition for everyone else is a big thank you from myself to you two guys as well. We've been doing this.
You stole my thing.
Sorry, done that. Well, Tom started it last week, kind of as well. So I just want to echo. We've not said it on public shows as such, but we started this off as a hobby. We wanted to see where it went with the launch of Stadia, and here we are at the end of episode 37. Just a massive thank you for you two guys, for your support, your contribution, the man hours it takes to produce, get together, edit, generate, gather the news with big help from the rest of the community. But it's
deal
been
with all the tech issues.
Deal with all the tech issues. But it's been a wonderful couple of months. I've had an absolute blast, and I look forward to what the future holds working alongside you two. So
absolutely,
much love from this side of the camera.
Absolutely, always. It's a blast. Yeah.
Look forward to this every week.
Exactly, but as we have gone over, as per tradition, and we did try and mention as many, we'd love to do a special episode, and I think a big sentiment that we really did want to echo for any content creators out there who are listening. Yes, we may come as a package. There is 3 of us on camera, on screen, on audio microphones right now. But we are by no means glued together. So if you would love to collaborate, share content, cross-pollinate news, information, Stadia topics, reach out to us. We're here. We've got myself, Richie. We all work full-time jobs, all different days, hours of the week as well. But if you would like us to join you for a chit-chat, reach out to us and let us know, because we are individuals as well as a group at Sounds of Stadia, and we look forward to working with you in the future on events, collaborations, projects, even just gaming as well. That little thing we like to do on the side, what this whole channel's based around. But yes, thank you again to everyone out there. Thank you everyone who listened this week or watched this week over on youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia and all the podcast available channels around the globe. Thanks for tuning in. My name's been Chris.
Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode 37. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.
Bye.